Welcome to The Network, the educational podcast designed to help our community navigate the four areas of life that I like to call the funky four corners. I've had the opportunity to interview some of my favorite people with one goal in mind: to help the spiritual, physical, mental, and financial health of our people as we navigate this thing called life. Subscribe to The Network. You never know, you might need it. Listen, y'all, we're back. And as we always start every episode, in the words of the great and always late American poet Lauryn Hill, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? Today's guest is here to help us get right. Diaka Melendez is a believer, a wife, a mother, and an avid who-dat. We're going to talk about this who-dat stuff in a minute, okay? She currently serves as a assistant superintendent, where she advocates for equity for her students, mental health, and wellness. Continuing to roll with our HBCU guests, today's feature is a two-time graduate of historically Black colleges and universities. For those of y'all watching, or if you're listening at a later time, y'all go ahead and put your virtual hands together for Miss Diaka Melendez.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Oh, I am so glad you're here. I was telling you that I was watching your YouTube channel. I actually love it, right? I think it is great for anybody who watches. I know it's kind of geared, towards women, right? But I was helped.
Good.
I was helped. Okay, so
Good.
listen. So here's what I want to do. I want to start here. Let's just kind of break the ice a little bit, and let's talk about your Saints.
You choosing violence out the gate.
I'm really not. So we're just gonna go over under. We're gonna start with a little over under for the New Orleans Saints.
All
right. 17 game schedule.
Okay.
Over under 9.5 wins this year. What you got?
Oh God.
See, not violence at all.
Oh, 9. You said 9 wins?
9.5. Over under.
I have to say over. I have to.
Okay. All right.
I have to.
Who's going to be the starting quarterback this year?
Derek Carr is going to be the starting quarterback because we have paid Derek Carr a ridiculous amount of money to be mediocre, and we are stuck with him this year unless he gets hurt again or somehow just completely plays like trash and gets benched, which could happen.
Okay, so since we're talking about Derek Carr, so let's go over under for Derek Carr. Okay. 30.5 touchdown passes. You going
absolutely
over or
under? Under.
Dang. Okay, so that means Alvin Kamara is gonna have to shoulder the load. So let's go over under for Kamara. Mm-hmm. Over or under 1,100 rushing yards. What you got?
Ooh, 1,100 rushing yards. Well, he's holding out right now, so I'm gonna say it just depends on how they use Taysom Hill. And so I'm gonna say under. I'm gonna say under on that one.
Okay. So Derek Carr, if he manages to stay healthy, he's got to throw the ball to somebody. Will he be throwing the ball to Michael Thomas this year?
Oh no, Michael Thomas is gone. Like that's not even an option. Hopefully Chris Olave, got the little rookie jitter shook out of him because he showed a lot of promise. I like him a lot, but there was just some pivotal passes that he didn't hold on to this year. So when Derek Carr connected with him, it was solid. So it seems like he'll be throwing to Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed, who, he's a good option too. So from a wide receiver standpoint, if Derek Carr can stay protected, which we made some moves on the offensive line, then that's why I think we will be able to win more games, because we actually ended up, winning one game over them, what we won last year. So 9 games seems reasonable considering our schedule, but you never know with the Saints.
Listen, you are a diehard because you're saying we and our. Okay, so we're throwing the ball to Chris Olave. So how many
Uh-huh.
balls is he going to catch? Let's go over under 90. Over under 90.
Over. I say over. Just because if Derek Carr stays healthy, he's not scrambling or rushing or anything like that. So he's going to pass. I don't but then, he loves a good slant. So Chris Olave is not really designed for that. So we'll see what that looks like. But
Okay.
I'm gonna go over because we have a new offensive coordinator. So
Okay. See, all of those things that I don't know because I have detached myself from my former love. All right,
yes.
last one.
Okay.
Last one. Last one. Is Cam Jordan still there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Cam Jordan. I like Cam Jordan.
Yes, I do too.
Sacks. Let's go over under 10 and a half sacks for Cam Jordan.
10 and a half sacks for Cam Jordan would be a great season for him. So I'm gonna say under. He's getting old.
Okay.
Um, you
He is
know,
getting old.
yeah.
And because, listen, because I have to say this, okay? This is not in the spirit of violence, okay? This is not in the spirit of violence, but I have to say this.
Yes, sir.
I think the Saints wasted so many years with Super Bowl defenses. I thought they had Super Bowl defenses for so many years, and I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't. I couldn't.
That you said you didn't choose violence, and right now is the time of year where I try to, in my house, we are very much a huge football house. So everything is football. Our lives revolve around football. Our wedding was football. Our house stops on football. So football is serious. And, of course, my husband is a Cowboys fan. But what I will say is, yes, you are correct. But I will say that when I die, one of the first questions I'm asking God is why? Because there were multiple debilitating, excruciating, remarkable playoff losses. I'm not talking about like we just didn't show up. I'm talking about the Minnesota Miracle. I'm talking about the
Oh
no
man.
call. Like if I even get started talking about that, I'm going to get upset. So it's not like we didn't compete. It just was like I don't understand. Like the type of way that we have lost in such crucial games has been. I mean, the Vernon Davis last second in San Francisco. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it's
Yeah.
whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just a little, because you are an avid Who Dat, we just wanted to start there. Okay. So Diaka, let's kind of
Mhm.
dive into this thing. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell those who are watching and listening where they can find you because
Mhm.
people need to find you because you are filled with wisdom.
Well, you would think, based on this conversation, that I would be the one from Louisiana, and you would be the one from California. However, I'm originally from California. I was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, and made my way to the Southern University and A&M College, where I earned my undergraduate degree in secondary education, and then made it to Houston. It was a choice between Houston, Charlotte, Atlanta at the time. And I was like, okay, it snows in Charlotte and it gets cold in Atlanta. So we ended up in Houston. And so I have been here for, God, 22 years now. Raised my family and I love Houston. I don't plan on probably ever moving out of Texas. And so my whole career has been pretty much in education. I have had the opportunity to serve as a teacher, an athletic coach, and I would be curious to what your viewers think I coached. I got the chance to be an instructional coach. I had a chance to be an assistant principal, an associate principal, a principal, an executive director, and currently an assistant superintendent. And so I've had that true stair stepper um, journey in my career. And so I'm just grateful to be, I think I always joke and say I'm at the tail end of my career because retirement is in sight. But I'm just somebody out there that, like you, loves to use the gifts that God has given us, and I just don't want to waste an ounce of the potential and the gifts that God has given me. So, I get a chance to do that through my career, because it's not a job for me. It's a career. It's a calling. Like we work together. I take it super serious. Like those kids, it really matters to me. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a mom. I've got 3 kids. My son is 27, daughter 19, and a 16-year-old. So, and I'm happily married to the most patient man in America.
Okay. So I want to start here. So
Mhm.
the one thing that I stole from you, okay, is saying happy whatever day of the week it is, right? So
Yeah.
when I send emails, I say, hey, happy Tuesday. When I send text messages, happy Monday.
Mhm.
Um, that was a difference maker for me. Another thing that and this is what we're going to kind of talk about today
Mhm.
is I always looked at you talked about your educational background. I always look at principals of large schools, kind of like CEOs.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I observed you do regularly was go home.
Mm.
You did not stay in that building. And I used to always wonder, okay, I know she's got way more on her plate than I have on mine. Why am I still here? And she's going home. How
Okay.
does she do that? How does she do that? So,
Yeah.
how do you do that? So, walk us through, and this is kind of what
Mhm.
your YouTube channel is about. Walk
Okay.
us through a typical day in your life and talk about how you structure your day to maximize productivity.
Okay. Well, I have to give credit to leaving on time to my student teacher when I was student teaching at Southern, the lab school, Miss Harris. I remember she told me something, and I never picked up the habit. She told me, she said, you do everything you can for these kids, but when the time comes that you have done what you need to do, you need to go home. And she talked about, people that were there like 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night grading papers. And she was like, just don't make that a habit. And so that was already kind of just naturally ingrained in me as an educator, but more so as a principal. One of my favorite books, best book probably for me, maybe after the Bible, is Michael Hyatt's Free to Focus. And in that book, he talks about basically capturing back your time, being able to do the things you want to do, but not to do more, which is what a lot of people do. They want to be productive so they can get more done. He talks about being productive so you can actually do less. And so that kind of just really stuck with me. And, of course, he talks in the book, I think he opens when he thinks he's having a heart attack. And, it just always made me think like, okay, as much as I love what I'm doing, as much as I love my career, when I lay down at night and take my last breath, I will not be thinking about teaks. I won't be thinking about duty. I'm not going to be thinking about test scores. I'm not going to be thinking about any of that. I'm going to be thinking about my family and my faith. And so just that being top of mind. And then my husband was very clear that he was going to support me when I became a high school principal, because it was a very demanding job. But his one ask kind of was, do not get consumed to the point where it takes away from family. And I was blessed because my husband was a principal before I was a principal. And so that helped with his understanding. But as far as like my day goes, I do get up pretty early. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, pretty much every
How
day.
how long how long have you been getting up at 5 a.m.?
Well, two things. I have been getting up at 5 o'clock probably for probably about 15 years. But differently than getting up at 5 o'clock and like working out, because the nature of my job, I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning because high school starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I had to get up
Hmm.
early to get ready for work. So I was already getting up at 5 o'clock because I had to be at work at 6:10, 6:05, 6:15. Um, Once I transitioned and came off the campus, I just continued to do it because I was like, oh, I'm already up at 5 o'clock. And so that then turned into, wait a minute, I'm up at 5 o'clock. I could work out. I could do Bible study. I could, spend time with God. I could meditate. I can do some things with this time that I've already been using to get up. So I just didn't let that habit go, and I continue to do it. So I get up at 5 o'clock. The alarm goes off at 4:50. I do not get up out of the bed at 4:50. I probably don't get up out of the bed till about 5:10, 5:15. I get up. I have my workout clothes, everything. I lay all that out the night before. And then I have everything where it needs to be. And then the first thing I do after I, go in the bathroom and do what I got to do and get my workout clothes on, I go upstairs. Depending on how I slept, I may take a pre-workout. I go upstairs, and the first thing I do is I do my Bible study. I start my time with God, and then I work out and get my day started. But I do my planning for the day the night before. So I get out my planner before I go to bed, and I write out everything that I need to do, so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm not looking over the day, like the things I got to do. That's happened the night before. So that way in the morning, I'll go back, I'll relook at it, and then, I have the day in front of me, and I'm able to really purposefully execute my day. And then I also time block, which is something that is a little deep, but it works for me.
Okay, so you mentioned a lot of things very casually. Okay.
Okay.
But I watched, great YouTube channel. Let me go ahead and put it down here on the bottom. I need y'all to go. Here comes dog number one busting through the door. I need
All
y'all to
right.
look at the ticker scrolling down at the bottom at Diaka Melendez on TikTok and Diaka Melendez on YouTube. I really want y'all to go and watch those videos because she's talking about this very casually. But one of the questions that I mentioned to Diaka before we started recording was like, are you a robot? Because the systems and routines are so consistent. So under that question, I wrote, can the average person do what you do?
Oh, that's a great
So
question.
let me rephrase it. Why doesn't the average person do what you do? What's the separator?
Discipline over motivation, I think, is the separator for a lot of things. You've coached girls, I've coached girls, and you know that there are some days where you just not gonna be motivated, but you can be disciplined. And so, but to the average person, absolutely, because this is what the average person has the opportunity to ask themselves. Number one, for me, what kind of health do I want to have? As I get older, my health is way more important than I work out for my health. I'm not, look, I'm married. This is what who it's gonna be. Um, so yes, I want to look good and feel good, but I also want to live a life. And so I think about my health span versus my lifespan. Because we can live a long life, but I want to live a long, healthy life. I don't want to be 75, 80 years old and, sitting somewhere in the corner. I want to be able to move, and that is what motivates me. And I think that if people would look at discipline and routines as like an investment in yourself instead of like the things that society tells us, like, oh, how you look or what you wear, or you could fit into that. Like, just think about if you could talk to 75-year-old you, what is 75-year-old looking like? What are they doing? Nobody's going to tell you that the 75-year-old version of them is in a wheelchair or has high blood pressure or is getting
Right,
dialysis.
right,
That
right.
person is always, vital. Okay. Well, what is 45-year-old you doing so that 75-year-old you can do that? And that's my motivator. And the other motivator I have is, I'm a believer, and I think that God gives us the tools to do these things like so easily. He does not hide it. It is like mind blowing sometimes to me. Like, he tells you exactly what you should be eating, um, why you stressed out, what you should be worried, like why you worried. He tells you to rest. I mean, he tells you to go laugh. He tells you to be fruitful. Like it's right there, but we make it complicated.
We do, and I want people to understand that because of that wealth span. Did I say it correctly?
Health span.
Your health span. Health is
Mhm.
your health is your wealth, right? Your health span is what that's your big goal, and that's the purpose of the 5 a.m. 5 a.m. is one of the steps in getting there, because as I'm watching the videos and I'm going through it and I'm just looking at all the notes that I took, um, I was like, okay, because you talked very casually through your 5 a.m. morning routine like it's nothing. But I know that there are a lot of people who struggle with 5 a.m. routines. So the next note I wrote was like, man, we probably need an accommodated and modified version of this. So that's why I was asking some follow-up questions, because people need to understand that it's discipline is the separator.
Mhm.
Discipline is the separator, right? And how long do you want to live well? How long do you want to live well? So what is so I know you talked about one of your early mentors telling you, hey, look, don't stay up here all night doing this. But I know that some of that was already in you, right? So
Mhm.
I'm like ADHD to the seventh power, right? I'm here, I'm there, I'm here, I'm there. I have to block time in order to stay disciplined. It's just I have to be very intentional about it. It's not just in me, right? So um my question is, where was that, or how was that ingrained in you? Were your parents that way? Did you have siblings that way, an aunt or an uncle? Where did you get that?
Well, I'm the oldest. So
Okay.
no, my mom, when I tell you my mother was the polar opposite of me, like no, we don't need a plan. And so my dad isn't like that either. Um, I think it's just being the oldest, when you're the oldest daughter, oldest granddaughter. Um, and I will say this, because I've had some time to reflect on this as an adult. My parents had me very young. My mom was 18. I think my dad was 21. And so my parents were the young parents growing up. And if you've ever had the young parents growing up, like, it blows my mind that when my mom was like 31, I was 13. And so because I had the young parents, they were trying to figure stuff out. Like at the time, it just was like normal, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh my God. And because they were kind of figuring things out and, evolving into adulthood, I saw a lot of things I think that I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, let me kind of step in and maybe be a little bit older acting than I was. I had a lot of opportunity, I guess I'll say, to be the adult sometimes. And I think that just happened at an early age. And because that happened, I just kind of always been adult like. I mean, even 13, 14-year-old me. But there was some specific time span, when I was probably about 12 or 13, where my parents were separated and there was a lot going on that, I kind of just had to step up. And once I kind of stepped up, I just stayed there and never
Just
came
kind of
out of it.
stayed
So
there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because y'all, I'm telling you, the level of discipline and organization. So there's a lot of you out there who probably have never worked in education, but it's hellacious. Um,
Mm.
it
It's a
is,
nice way of saying it. It's a nice word.
yeah, it is, the workload is tremendous. So watching you and the discipline that you have displayed has been awesome. So how would you rate yourself discipline wise on a scale of 1 to 10?
An
One
eight.
being okay.
8,
So you've
8.
thought about that.
Oh yeah, hands down, an 8.
Okay.
I don't, I'm disciplined, but I'm not insane. Because my discipline wanes. I will say that. Like right now, I'm in the middle of restarting like a running program. I run, but like I'll back off of it. So the month of May is like in a super busy month for me. I'm over graduation. So the month of May, I never got off track, but I definitely got off kilter. And the crazy thing is, and I just have, this was like the first time in my life I realized how old I was. I work out all the time. All the time. I work out all the time, and for the most part, I eat right. For the month of May, I probably slacked off on some workouts, and I ain't gonna I did not eat very well. I gained like 7 pounds in like 3.5, 4 weeks. I have never in my life gained weight that fast, that quick. I was like, this, oh, no, this can't be right. Oh, it was right. So I say that to say that I'm disciplined, but I do have ebbs and flows where I will get off. But what I think helps me is I operate off of something called the zone of safety. And I recommend that for everybody. The zone of safety, I create this in multiple areas of my life, but there's a box and I'm in the box and there is a zone and I'll use weight. Like say I'm 150, which clearly is not my weight, but let's just say I was 150 pounds. My zone of safety is I can't get over 165. If I'm below 150, I'm on the house money. But I can gain weight. I'll creep up. But that zone of safety between 150 and 165, I can never go over the zone of safety. And that cushion of letting me like be me and fluctuate helps. And so I have zones of safety kind of in all kinds of things. Like, okay, I'm off, but as long as I don't get here, I'm good. And if I ever get out the zone of safety, that's very rare, but that zone of safety mentality has helped me because it lets me mess up. It lets me not be as disciplined. It lets me fluctuate without feeling
That's good.
guilty, but it keeps me checked.
That's good. So for you people who need accommodations and modifications, give yourself a little wiggle room.
Oh yeah.
Give yourself some wiggle room. You don't have to be so stringent. Okay, so
Mhm.
you get up in the morning, you read your Bible. Are you reading a Bible app or are you actually reading the good book?
I have a devotional. Charles Stanley is well, he's passed on. I think he passed away 2023. He was a pastor. I don't know where he was out of. My mother used to watch him. I mean, he was on TV. So I remember as a child,
Hmm.
she would watch him. And so she used to get the devotionals. I think they're called In Touch. Oh, look, here it is right here.
In Touch with Charles
um,
Stanley. I want to say
yes.
that was the name of the program on television as well.
Yeah, In Touch. I think so.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so I get these devotionals, and what I love about them is that there's one for every day. So it tells you every day, it's just like a page. That's it, like a half a page. So I read it, I highlight the things that resonate, and then I just take a post-it and write little notes about, what stuck out to me, what I took from it. And so I get these every month. And so I literally just every day, that's my Bible study. And so there's usually reference to a part of the Bible. So I read that, but that's what I do. So that's how I start my morning.
Okay, okay. And I was asking because I'm wondering if there are any specific tools or technologies that you use to enhance your productivity.
A good old I'm old school as much as you would think. And I actually just uploaded a video today about my tools. That's crazy that you asked.
Okay,
And
okay,
so
okay.
I'm going over my two main tools, which are my planner, which is the Free to Focus planner, and I do use Notion. So I'm half and half. I use Notion um, to kind of have my checklist of the things that I do to start my day and kind of keep track of, what the workouts are I do and yada yada yada. And then I'm old
Hmm.
school. Like I still write stuff down. So I have my planner. I literally just this is a new one because I do one every quarter. And so I will be setting up the new one for July, August, and September. And so those two tools are what keep me on track and keep me accountable. So full focus planner and then Notion for people. So I think honestly, if you like a paper planner, that's enough. If you like digital, Notion's enough. I just kind of like a little bit of both of them.
Okay, that's good. I'm gonna borrow that idea of quarterly
Hmm.
planning quarterly. I
Oh,
need
I
that.
love
Will
quarterly
help.
planning.
That's gonna help somebody like me with a high level of ADHD.
Are you a
Okay.
yearly planner?
Um, I am more like a biweekly. I kind of go 2 weeks at a time.
Okay.
And that kind of works for me. But I'm gonna try to work my way to 90 days.
Okay.
I'm trying to work my way there. So I'll probably go, I'll probably start monthly. I always
Mhm.
have an idea of what's coming up, but I want to
Mhm.
do a better job of making checklists and
Mhm.
following up and doing some delegation and things like that. So those are areas of growth
Mm.
for me. Okay.
I like that.
Um, what advice would you give someone that is struggling with discipline, like specifically discipline? Like, oh my goodness, I just watched all Diaka's videos. I could never. I don't know how she does it. If you could say, listen, this is where I need you to start, what would you
Mhm.
tell them?
I would say start with your routine. What is it that, because this is the thing too. 5 o'clock is like the trendy thing, now. Like, oh, get up at 5 o'clock and work out. You could do the exact same thing at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, it doesn't matter what
Hmm.
time you're doing it. That's just what works for me. So I think people like to romanticize the whole 5 o'clock, in the morning. Let's get up and get it busy. That's the time that works for me. So I would say to look at your routine. I'm a big believer in what you spend time doing is what you gonna get. And so looking at your routines, like first of all, even before that, what's your why? What are your goals? I have three simple whys for me. Number one, I want to be aligned to the purpose that God has put in me, and sometimes I don't know what that is. I want
That's good.
to be healthy, and not just healthy like where I can go run. I want to be healthy where, like I said, my health span. I'm long term thinking. And then the third one is I want to be balanced and happy. Notice I didn't say rich. Notice I didn't say successful. Notice I didn't say material things. Um, and so I would just say start with your why. Like, and then does your routine support your why? And then what are like one or two steps? Like, I didn't like start working out at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, just one day I was like, okay, I'm going to do it every day. It was like maybe 1 or 2 days. And then that turned into 3 or 4 days. And then what happened to me is there was a light bulb moment, which was I was walking in at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and coming home from work, and I had already worked out. I was like, oh, like I'm home, and like for the rest of the evening, I don't really have to
Oh
do
my
anything.
goodness.
And so, yeah, that's that. So I would say start with your routine, and then I would say, um, don't let anybody tell you what that needs to look like. Like whatever it is that it's gonna feel good for you, make it feel good for you. Don't compare yourself to anybody. Um, and
And
I'm
can I
yeah.
say, maybe get you a planner so that you can write some of these things down,
Or
or
no.
an app,
Mhm.
or an app that you can have those things. That's really, really good. Okay, let me do my little commercial right here that I probably lost. All right, y'all, listen. We are here with CEO Diaka Melendez, right? She is the chief executive officer of her life and a lot of other people's lives. All right. So right now we are live on YouTube, we are live on Instagram, we are live on Facebook. So if you are watching by YouTube, here's what I want you to do. I want you to find that little thumbs up, click that like, click that subscribe. All right. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening on Apple, hey, go ahead and give us 5 stars. Tell a friend to tell a friend. If you are listening by Spotify, do the same thing. And then I'm going to drop this on the bottom of the screen because this is really where you need to go. You need to go and find Diaka Melendez on TikTok and YouTube because, listen, she is going to get your mind right. Get it done with Diaka. That's what we're doing here today. We're
Oh,
getting it
okay.
done with Diaka. Okay. Okay. So you have truly in teacher fashion in your answers, you have answered a lot of my follow-up questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I had like a ton of other questions, but let me ask this question. What has been your favorite video to date?
Ooh. Um, let's see. Well, I've only been doing it for 3 months, so I think my favorite so far has been so. That's a good one. I'm doing a series right now, like a 30-day shred. So I'm in the middle of a 30-day shred. And so I have been doing
Give
some
us a
update
progress
videos.
report.
Yeah, giving a progress report. In fact, I'm working on the third one because I've had a nice little jump from this last one to this one, progress wise. So I've really enjoyed doing that. Um, and then I think my other favorite one would be maybe what YouTube has taught me with less than 500 subscribers. And I think I like that one because my daughter always tells me I sound so teachery and professory. And I feel like that one really just didn't fit the mold. It was just something I saw was trending. I was like, okay, I'll do that. What I liked about that one is that when I was filming it, number one, I just was like hit record and just went. But I was talking in it about that YouTube is hard, like what you're doing is hard, and it takes a lot of work. Like preparing for a podcast is a lot of work, getting the gear and making sure that people don't realize how much work goes into that. And you're putting this work in and you're like, okay, how many people are watching or how many views is this going to get? And then you're like, okay, why the hell am I doing all this work? And then I think it makes me realize, like, because we do hard things. Like, when is the
That's
last
good.
thing that you pursued that you were not successful in and you kept doing it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, this isn't
Yeah.
one of those things where like YouTube, like, okay, I got 5,000 subscribers after 2 videos. Like, I got to keep doing it because that's what I said I was going to do. And I promised myself, but it's not easy.
Listen, I your page is tremendous. And the crazy thing, so I've been doing this podcast, I guess about 4 years now, and I've learned a lot, right? Learned a
Mm.
whole lot doing it. You know, equipment and all of these things and getting people scheduled and trying to have a good flow, all of those different things. And I have gotten zero negative feedback. I get so much good feedback. I've through people being on the podcast, they've gotten connected with other people, which is the purpose of the podcast is to connect people, right? And so then I go and look at my subscribers and I'm like, that number is small. But if it works for one person, then I have served my purpose. The episode has served its purpose. There's one guy who was helped to get a publishing deal because somebody saw him on the podcast. So that right there, that's what brings me joy, right? And it's what I like to do in the summer when I'm not, I don't have to go to work every day and I like talking to people. I'm the most fortunate person because I get to talk to my nephew was like, "Man, you're talking to like doctors and professors and PhDs and people who are certified to do all of these things. This is like, man, this is awesome." And I'm like, "Listen, I'm the one that's the most fortunate because I get to talk to all of them and borrow all of their great ideas, like planning quarterly." All right, Diaka, this is my favorite thing from all of your videos. Go hard for yourself. Out of all of your, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there, but that one, that was the home run for me. Talk about that a little bit. Diaka, you muted yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to
There you
act
go. We're
my
good.
eyes when I thought about that, and I think I hit the the button. You have to go hard for yourself. Like I know it sounds almost like a cliche, but when you really think about it, like no one is gonna go as hard for you as you. Period. Bottom line, not your wife, not your parents, not your spouse. Um, I think I always knew that, but if I'm being very honest, when my mother passed away, it really, number one, it was life changing for me because my mother and I were very close. But I realized that my mother was like, oh, she was my go hard person. She was the person that like if I was thinking about something, but I really wasn't sure, even though I was sure, but I just kind of need to call her and maybe I wouldn't even say it. I would just be like, oh, I'm thinking about this. But I wouldn't say like that I was in a dilemma, but she would pick
Mm-hmm.
up, and she would know, like, and she would say the things that I needed to hear. And I realized, like, just the champion and the cheerleader that she was. And I realized, in her passing, that what she was teaching me was to go hard for me. Like, she equipped me to go hard for me, to make sure. And those were the life lessons that she constantly would pour into me. My mom was old school, so if you wanted something, you was gonna work for it. Even though she was young, if you wanted to go someplace, you wanted to have something, you were gonna, justify it and work for it. And so I learned very early on in my dad's work ethic, like to this day, I will say, like, his work ethic was second to none. And so I'm betting on me. Like, I'm betting on me and I'm betting on God. And if those two things, come together, then who am I to limit God on what he can do for me and with me? And so I go hard for yourself. Like, people will go hard for, look, I go hard for other people's kids. I go hard for my kids. Um, but who's gonna go hard for me? Like, who's gonna go hard for you? Like, you,
I
you.
saw a post today, and it was awesome. It said, "Listen, you've watered long enough. It's your turn to be the garden."
Oh, I love that.
I thought that was excellent. Listen, y'all, you got to go hard for yourself. Take care of you. What do you want your health span to be? How are you going to get that done? Do you need a planner? Do you need a paper planner, a digital planner? Do you need a Bible app? Do you need to subscribe to Charles Stanley's devotional? Whatever it is that you need to do, you don't have to get up at 5 a.m. like Diaka does. She just told you that. Go hard for yourself, do what works for you, and make sure that you give yourself some wiggle room, also known as grace, or like Diaka told us, safety zones.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you do that for yourself. All right, Diaka, we're getting ready to pivot. Okay.
All
So
right.
I got a game. Do you mind playing this game with me?
Not at all.
All right. So we're going to play Who Said That?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to give you quotes from Black celebrities.
Okay.
Okay. I will also give you a hint. Okay.
Okay.
I will also give you a hint, and we'll see if you know who said that. Okay.
Okay.
Let's start with this one. I am not afraid of storms, for I am learning how to sail my ship. Here's your hint. This actress is known for her roles in Scandal and Django Unchained.
Okay. Kerry Washington.
Okay, there we go. So we started with an easy one. Okay, we
Okay.
started with an easy one. All right, here we go. This one's a little more difficult. Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he has overcome. You ready for your hint?
Yeah, I'm gonna need one.
All right. So this guy was an educator and an author, prominent leader in the African American community in the early 20th century. So this is an early 1900s guy.
Ooh.
He kind of had big ears.
Mm, Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington. What gave it away?
The big ears. I mean,
Thank
we were
God for
social
pictures.
studies teachers. It would be a shame. Like, I feel like the social studies teacher get it together.
All right, here we go. So listen, this singer and actress, she's half of probably a a huge power couple. Okay, so she said the most alluring thing a woman can have is confidence.
Well, go with Beyonce.
That would be Beyonce.
Oh,
Okay.
look
All
at
right. Here we
me.
go. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Um. Oh, that hint is too easy. All right. Let's try this one. It's not the load that breaks you down. It's the way you carry it.
Oh, I don't know, but that's a good quote.
It's not
Um,
the load that breaks you down. It's the way you carry it. This woman was a poet and a civil rights activist.
Ooh, Nikki Giovanni? Oh, you said was, though, because she's still alive. So was. Not Zora Neale Hurston. Maya Angelou?
I know why the cage bird sings.
Okay. I wanted to say Maya Angelou. It just seemed like so obvious when you said poet. So I was thinking, I overthought that.
Okay. All right, here's the next one. If you pray, I won't be long. Any black pastor in America. You could have said any black pastor in America, and that one would have ran. All right, last one right here. You have to be able to love yourself, because that's when things fall into place.
That's another good one.
All right.
Has to be a woman.
Definitely a woman. Definitely a woman. All right. She won an Oscar for Fences.
Oh, Viola Davis.
Listen, man, not only can you get it done with Diaka, culturally relevant. She is in tune with what we got going on here. Diaka, let me ask you this. If you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that is a good question. A superpower, any superpower, what would it be and why? The heart of me wants to say heal people. But the realistic part of me would be, I think I would be, gosh, that has me stumped. Superpower, I would selectively read minds. So I wouldn't want to do it all the time where I couldn't turn it off. I would only want to do it when I wanted to do it. That's what I would do.
That's dangerous.
Very.
Like, is she reading my mind right now?
Exactly. But only when I want to.
Okay. So listen, I had to ask you that question because you're not just a shero, you are a super shero. I feel like I'm qualified to say that because I worked under you and watched you, and I watched all your videos.
Well,
all right,
thank you.
And I think I'm subscribed to your channel. I had to make sure
I'm trying
to help you get your numbers up.
Okay.
Trying to help you get your numbers up. All right, Diaka, we're coming down to the end of this episode. We only got 2 segments left. This segment is called Good Medicine. Okay. So what I want you to do is prescribe something that was life-changing for you to our audience. Something that was life-changing for you that you would like to prescribe to our audience. We call this good medicine.
Tithing. Tithing. I'm convinced to this day. It was something my grandmother used to tell me to do all the time. And it was kind of like one of those things when I was like in college, I was like, but when I became a teacher, I was like, I'll do it. Just why not? I mean, at the time I was in Baton Rouge making I think my check was $780. So I was like, I'll give you my $78. And so I just did it and I kind of just stuck with it. And I am convinced that because of that the 90% that I have, God has blessed and protected. And tithing.
That's good. That is really good. Giving is a lifestyle. So if you're hearing that and the first thing you did was cringe, then I would like to suggest that you explore your heart in the space of giving. Are you a giver? Are you a giver? It's a lifestyle, right? It's God doesn't want you to be obligated. We're not going to Bible study. Okay, here we go, Diaka. Here we go. Last segment. It's called You Didn't Ask. Okay. So what unsolicited advice would you like to share with our watching and listening audience? Nobody asked for this, but you're going to give it to us anyway. What you got?
Who? Unsolicited advice. Don't make any second guesses or manipulate the situation on who you marry. Make sure that the person that you say I do to is there's no part of you that's like, he does this or she does this, or I could overlook that. Like all the boxes need to be checked on the person you marry. Not crazy boxes like, must be a millionaire. But all of the key boxes, like treats you right, um, respects you, provider, all the things, the whatever your things are, whether it's who you're marrying, it's a man or a woman, because being married to the right person makes a huge difference.
Woo, that's good. Listen, we didn't ask for that, but we got it anyway. Make sure, listen, y'all don't be second guessing, but
Mm-mm.
up until, I'm going to go ahead and say this, you can be on that altar and you can hit reverse. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, go on and
Tell
hit reverse. You can even make the beeping noises. Beep, beep, beep. Get up out of there. If it ain't
them.
the right, if it ain't the right person, man, in the words of Ludacris, roll out. Listen,
Amen.
this is the network. Y'all, this is the free educational podcast designed to do four things, and that's to help you spiritually, physically, mentally, and financially. Those are the four areas of life that we like to call the funky four corners. So,
Ooh.
what I need y'all to do today is I need you to get on Diaka's page and I need y'all to watch those videos. Y'all, listen, they're bite sized, they're easy to digest, but don't just watch. Take something away from it and then do it. So I told you early today, listen, if you're a working woman, if you're a young woman who's trying to figure out how to get it done, if you're after the age of 40 and you're trying to reset, right? Guys, you can find some enlightenment and nourishment there as well. I need y'all to get over. I'm going to put it on the bottom of the screen one more time.
All
I
right.
need y'all to get over there right now. Until next time, I need y'all to make sure that you stay plugged into the network and y'all make love the culture. Diaka, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.